This is another Pokemon Nuzlocke, where Pokemon retire after fighting gym leaders. Let's get you up to speed. The Sinnoh region is calling, and what better way to answer them by throwing myself into another Gymlocke, this time in Pokemon Platinum. A brand new region, new challenges, and, let's be honest, new ways for me to ruin almost everything. So what's so different about this Nuzlocke? Well, every time I defeat a gym leader, the team I used in battle retires, meaning they can never be used again. They head off to a luxury resort where they can sip citrus berry cocktails and discuss how badly I misplayed with them. Anyway, here's the rules. Rule 1, if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever. Rule 2, one encounter per route with no duplicates allowed. Rule 3, every Pokemon gets a nickname, and I've gone for a theme again, you'll see. Rule 4, no items in battle except held items. Rule 5, level caps apply. I can't level past the next gym leader's ace, and for the Elite 4, I can't go past Lucian's Gallade. Rule 6, set mode only, so no free switches. Rule 7, the shiny clause is on. If I find a shiny, I will use it. I need that dopamine. And Rule 8, the retirement rule. If a Pokemon is used in a gym battle and survives, it must retire and cannot be used again. Rule 9 is a little bit of a helping hand, which is the TM clause. I have access to every TM from the start, but once I use it, it's gone forever. No picking up extra copies later on. Also, HMs cannot be used until the story gives them to me. With the rules locked in, it was time to start our Pokemon Platinum Gymlocke. I entered my name and took my first steps into the Sinnoh region, preparing myself for another round of heartbreak, heroics, and highly questionable decision making. First up, the starter. I went with Chimchar because, let's be real, a fire type in Sinnoh is basically a legendary encounter. I named him Persimmon, much like the fruit, because he's got the potential to be sweet, but he might just ruin everything if handled incorrectly. After making my way towards Lake Verity, I got my first official encounter, a Starly. I caught her and I named her Turnip. With this little bird joining the squad, the team was starting to take shape, but in a Gymlocke you can never have too many options, so I went on a bit of a recruitment spree before reaching Oreburgh. Route 202 gave us Blackberry the Shinx, Route 204 gave us Potato the Bidoof, a certified legend among early game HM users, but for now, a humble potato. Route 203 gave us Radish the Cricketot, holding a metronome as well, that's 5% chance. And Route 207 gave us Asparagus the Machop, because nothing screams raw fighting power like asparagus. Oreburgh Mines also gave us Plum the Zubat. With the team stocked up, it was time to track down Rourke, Sinnoh's first gym leader, and a man who takes his job way too seriously. I found him hanging around Oreburgh Mines, presumably just vibing with the rock types, before he scurried off to his gym. With that, the first real test of the run was about to begin. With my team watching nervously from the sidelines, I stepped into Oreburgh Gym with just one Pokemon, Asparagus the Machop. This wasn't just a battle, this was a one-mon demolition job. First up was Geodude, and Asparagus wasted no time. One Rock Smash, one critical hit, and one Geodude instantly reduced to gravel. The level up? That was just a bonus. Then came Cranidos, Rourke's ace, and a Pokemon that's essentially a prehistoric wrecking ball with legs. But turns out, it's weak to gravity. Asparagus hit it with a low kick, and with a satisfying thud, it hit the deck. Onix had an identical fate, and just like that, the Cull badge was ours. And Asparagus? Well, Asparagus had a well-deserved retirement. Now, what does Machop do after single-handedly dismantling an entire gym? I like to think he's off to the Luxury Ball Resort, pumping iron, flexing in the mirror, and preparing for his inevitable Machoke era glow-up. See you soon, Asparagus. You were built different. With our first gym badge secured, it was time to continue our journey towards Floroma Town. But before we could bask in the scent of digital flowers, we made a new addition to the team, a Psyduck called Banana from Route 205. With things going well, it meant something terrible was bound to happen, and of course, it did. We helped the Honeyman, got the key, battled the Grunt, and barely scraped past the caffeinated cat that Commander Mars had lurking in the back. After that, things have returned to normal. And after that somewhat traumatizing experience, the team decided to celebrate by hitting some major milestones. Persimmon evolved into Monferno, Potato evolved into Bibarel, Blackberry evolved into Luxio, and Turnip evolved into Staravia. With Team Galactic kicked out of the Windworks and 4 evolutions under our belt, we were looking stronger than ever. So we set our sights on Eterna Forest. We caught a Weasel called Papaya on Route 205 and entered the canopies towards the next city. But this wasn't just any old stroll in the woods. We were joined by Cheryl, a kind-hearted trainer with a Chansey that promised to make battles easier. That was a lie. For a while, things were going smoothly. Double battles meant extra experience points and Chansey's healing kept us in fighting shape. but then everything fell apart. We ran into a trainer battle against a Pachirisu, a Pokemon that, under normal circumstances, should not be a threat. But this wasn't a normal run, and this wasn't a normal Pachirisu. One fateful attack too many, and just like that, Blackberry the Luxio was gone. The worst part? Chansey could have stopped it. It had one job, just attack instead of endlessly healing. But no, it watched. It watched as my trusted Luxio was struck down in its prime. Blackberry had so much more to give, but instead they fell here, in a dimly lit forest, to an overgrown squirrel. Rest in peace, Blackberry. You were destined for greatness, and you deserved so much better. We caught a Baneri in the forest and named her Ginger. Then we arrived in Eterna City, and that meant one thing: Gym Battle 2 against Gardenia. Now, most people would bring a flying type or fire type to the grass gym. That would be logical. That would be safe. But no, we entered this battle with one Pokemon, a Kricketot. Now, when we caught Radish the Kricketot, he came holding a metronome, a simple item that boosts the power of moves when used repeatedly. And since Radish's best attack in this gym is Fury Cutter, a move that doubles in power with each consecutive hit, we had a ridiculous snowball strategy. So here's how it went. Number 1, you sing. Number 2, you focus energy for some critical hit boosts. And number 3, you spam Fury Cutter like your life depends on it. Each hit got stronger and stronger. Turtwig fell first, then Cherim, and finally Roserade, Gardenia's ace, could only watch in horror as this tiny music bug of destruction cut through her entire team like a lawnmower from hell. And just like that, the forest badge was ours. Radish walked into that battle as a Kricketot, and he walked out as a legend. He now becomes the most irritating member of the Luxury Ball Resort, and he will whoop to his heart's content. With Gardenia defeated, it was time to deal with some unfinished business. Team Galactic. We stormed their hideout and put an end to their totally evil and definitely not suspicious plans, and then sent them packing. After that, we picked up the Explorer's Kit, because nothing says saving the world like immediately abandoning everything to go dig holes in the ground for a few hours. But deep beneath the Sinnoh surface, we unearthed the Shield fossil, which meant free Pokemon. We revived in Oreburgh town, and just like that, Fennel the Shieldon joined the squad, a tiny prehistoric tank with some excellent defense stats. Next, we made our way to Mount Coronet, where we found Elderberry the Bronzor and added it to the team. And on Route 208, we caught Apples the Budu. But the biggest upgrade of all? Well, that was Plum the Zubat, who evolved into Golbat and then into Crobat. Yeah, that's right. Maximum speed, maximum chaos. Plum was officially a jet-powered purple menace, and we were ready to take on anything that Sinnoh threw at us. And then just as things couldn't get any better, Cynthia showed up and handed us an egg. With the colourful patched egg safely in our care, we headed for Heartome City. With Heartome City finally in reach, we had a big decision to make. Do we train more, catch more, play it safe and strategize carefully? Or do we run straight into Fantina and hope for the best? Obviously we did the second one. Fantina is notorious for ending runs, and her ace Mismagius has sent more Nuzlockers to their graves than I can count. But we had a plan. The metronome strategy was back. We entered this fight with one Pokemon, Plum the Crobat. The plan? Spam Bite, boost its power with metronome, and pray we don't get critical hitted into oblivion. First up was Duskull, and thanks to its bulk, it took 3 bites to go down, but it wasn't much of a threat. Easy, maybe too easy. Then came Mismagius. This was the moment of truth, the troublemaker, the run ender. Turn 1, it hit us with a Confuse Ray. That's not great. Turn 2, we hit ourselves, and that's even worse. Turn 3, it lands a Psybeam, and suddenly, Plum is in the orange. This was bad. I needed one outcome. Plum to break through the confusion and land a bite. And somehow, someway, he did, and Mismagius goes down. But there's no time to celebrate because Haunter's up next. Plum is still confused, still injured, and we are one bad roll away from disaster. One final turn, one final bite. And then, Plum breaks through again and one-shots Haunter, getting us the Relic Badge. But at what cost? Plum didn't just win that battle. He survived by the skin of his teeth, and now he does get to retire. A terrified, exhausted, near-death Crobat flies off to the Luxury Ball Resort, where I can only assume he now spends his days avoiding any and all ghosts at all costs. Plum, you absolute legend. You deserved better than all that stress. With 3 badges in hand, we set our sights on the next destination, Salacian Town. But first, it was time to expand the team. Route 209 gave us a Magikarp called Nectarine, and Papaya evolved into Floatzel. And as we arrived in Salacian Town, our egg finally hatched. Welcome to the world, Parsnip the Togepi. An innocent baby full of potential, happiness, and a disturbing amount of untapped destructive energy. From there, it was time to keep moving forward. On Route 210, we caught Edamame the Scyther, and on Route 215, we encountered Blueberry the Marill. And with that, we finally arrived in Veilstone City. Now it was time to prepare for Gym Battle 4 against Maylene. The fighting type specialist was no joke, and her ace Lucario had the potential to tear through our team if we weren't careful. We entered the fight with 2 Pokemon, Turnip the Staravia and Edamame the Scyther. The plan? Use speed, flying moves, and pray that Lucario doesn't ruin everything. Turnip opened up strong, landing a critical hit Aerial Ace on Meditite, and it took it out with a single blow. That's a great start. Next was Machoke, and Turnip wasn't slowing down. One more Aerial Ace, one more KO, and we were absolutely rolling. Then came Lucario, the moment of truth, the run-ender, the nightmare in blue steel. Lucario landed a Drain Punch on Turnip, but Turnip fired back with an Aerial Ace, dealing solid damage. It wasn't enough to KO though, and we needed a new approach, so we switched to Edamame. Lucario went for a Metal Claw, hitting hard, and Edamame went for a Focus Energy, setting up a potential critical hit wing attack sweep. Then another Metal Claw, and Edamame held on. This was it. We clicked wing attack. If it did hit hard enough, Lucario would go down. If it didn't, it didn't. Lucario survived with a slither of health and struck back with Metal Claw. Edamame was gone. Just like that, the Scyther that had barely been with us, the Scyther that was supposed to retire a hero, was now defeated. But there was no time to mourn. Turnip re-entered the battle with a vengeance, and with a quick attack, Lucario was finally defeated. We had the Cobble Badge, but at a terrible cost. Turnip retired at the Luxury Ball Resort, victorious but alone. Meanwhile, Edamame never got to leave the battlefield. Rest in peace, Edamame. You fought with honour, and you deserved a better finish. With Veilstone Gym behind us and Edamame laid to rest, we decided it was time to add to the team on the way to Pastoria City. Ruin Maniac Cave gave us Coconut the Geodude, Route 214 gave us Jakama the Rhyhorn, and Route 213 gave us Fig the Chatot. A relief after retiring so many flying types already. Finally, we arrived at Pastoria City. But before crashing Wake's party, we decided to explore and use our new Fly HM to get a few different encounters. Our Great Marsh encounter was Eggplant the Wooper, tiny, goofy, and blissfully unaware of the horrors of Nuzlocke life. On Route 212, our encounter was Lettuce the Shellos, and we returned to Heartome City to be gifted Lemon the Eevee, courtesy of Bebe. We used our Thunderstone from Salacion Ruins, and Lemon became Jolteon, and with our Shockwave TM, we gave it some zapping power. This is the time we also evolved Budu into Roselia, and with our Grass and Electric additions ready, it was finally time to face the shirtless water lover, Crasher Wake. First up was Gyarados. Now, some people fear Intimidate, some people fear Gyarados' sheer power. We feared neither. Lemon the Jolteon stepped up, and with one single Shockwave, Gyarados dropped like a sack of Magikarp. Not even a chance. Next up, Quagsire. We swapped in Apple the Roselia, and one Mega Drain later, the Quagsire was gone. And finally, Wake's ace, Floatzel. It entered the field, and we swapped Lemon back in, who fried it like a fish stick. With 0 casualties, the Fen badge was ours, and for their outstanding contributions to aquatic destruction, both Lemon and Apple retired to the Luxury Ball Resort. I imagine Lemon is running laps around the resort at max speed, and Apple lounging in the sun, absorbing nutrients and probably sipping on some very high-end herbal tea. With that uncomfortable uncle at the barbecue defeated, and 2 more MVPs off to their well-earned vacation, it was time to head towards the next challenge. Just when things were starting to settle down, Team Galactic decided to blow up the Great Marsh, because, you know, evil team things. We chased the Bomber Goon all the way to the Valor Lakefront, where he ran off, and we ran into Cynthia, who casually handed us a secret potion to fix some Psyduck's headaches, because clearly that's our responsibility now. Backtracking to Route 210, we cleared the Psyducks with Cynthia's Miracle Cure, only to realise we never picked up the Defog HM from Salacion Ruins. So, after a quick detour of shame, we finally pushed through the foggy cliffs towards Celestic Town. Along the way, Fennel the Shieldon evolved into Bastiodon, a literal brick wall, and Coconut the Geodude evolved into Graveler, a rock that now throws other rocks. We made it to Celestic Town, handed over the old charm, and were immediately greeted by Cyrus, who showed up to monologue about space and emotions and some other stuff, before challenging us to a battle. We crushed him with pure rock-type destruction, and we sent him packing. For our troubles, we got the Surf HM, which meant one thing: new areas unlocked. So next stop, Canalave City. And on the way, we made an addition to the team. Route 218 gave us Tomato the Mr. Mime, a Pokemon that is either a genius or a menace, but definitely should always be kept away from anything remotely vulnerable. And with that odd man dressed as a Pokemon thoroughly buried into our PC box, we rolled up to the harbour town of Canalave City. And as we arrived, we brushed aside Barry in a casualtyless fight, and we started to train up the team. Eggplant the Wooper evolved into Quagsire, and whilst doing all of this training, Persimmon evolved into Infernape. With our team stronger than ever and Eggplant now fully evolved, it was time to take on Byron in Canalave City Gym. Byron, the Steel-type specialist, was about to experience firsthand what happens when a clueless, happy-go-lucky Quagsire stumbles into his gym and accidentally destroys everything. We opened with a rain dance, because if there's one thing Eggplant understands, it's vibes. First surf, decent damage. Second surf, critical hit. Magneton, gone. Next in was the ferocious Steelix. One surf and Steelix evaporated. And finally, Byron's ace, Bastiodon. Eggplant blinked. One surf, Bastiodon deleted. The Mind Badge was ours. I think it was anyway. Eggplant just left it on the floor. Our Quagsire had no idea what had just happened. And for a Pokemon that barely knows where it is at any given moment, Eggplant accidentally became a weapon of mass destruction against Byron's entire team. And now, retirement. Eggplant wanders off to the Luxury Ball Resort, where he will happily sit in puddles in the car park and continue to live his best, most oblivious life. Post-gym, we made a pit stop at Iron Island. We teamed up with Riley to get the HM for strength and covered ourselves in repels in order to get the Riolu egg. Then, we headed to Canalave Library, where we watched Sinnoh's news broadcast go from morning updates to live explosion footage in just seconds. Team Galactic had bombed a lake, so off we went straight to the lakefront, where we took down their admins and attempted to shut down their nonsense before targeting Snowpoint City. And on the way, we picked up 2 more teammates. Route 211 gave us Garlic the Medicham, a fighting type with psychic powers and an intense seasoning preference. And Route 216 gave us Cherry the Sneasel. With Team Galactic temporarily handled and our team growing stronger, we trekked through the snow towards Snowpoint City, ready for Gym Battle 7. Once we'd skated our way into Snowpoint City, it was time to take on Candice for the Icicle Badge. I know there's a joke in there, I cannot be bothered to make it. For this battle, we brought 2 Pokemon, Garlic the Medicham and Elderberry the Bronzong, a silent guardian and a steel-clad protector of the team. Garlic opened strong, swiftly knocking out Sneasel with a single high jump kick. Easy. Then, Candice sent in Froslas. We swapped Elderberry, our bulkiest option, to take it down. Elderberry managed to land the KO, but we were in a very tough spot. Candice had 2 Pokemon left, and we needed a clean switch into Garlic, and there was only one way to do it. Elderberry had to stay in. One hit too many, and the silent gong faded into the snow, giving us one final gift, a safe switch in. Garlic stepped forward, calm, focused, and vengeful. With an icy wind howling around our Pokemon, Medicham tore through the rest of Candice's team one by one. The Icicle Badge was ours, but it was bittersweet. Elderberry, the Protector, the Tank, and the unwavering Sentinel was left behind in Snowpoint Gym, frozen in time. And Garlic? Well, Garlic retired to the Luxury Ball Resort, but has refused to speak to anyone. Something about that battle changed him. With the Icicle Badge in hand and the weight of Elderberry's sacrifice still fresh, we pressed forward, adding 2 more Pokemon to the team. Route 217 gave us Squash the Swinub, small, fluffy and destined for greatness. And Acuity Lakefront gave us Cabbage the Snover, half tree, half blizzard, but all business. But before we could dwell on our new recruits, Team Galactic was making their next move. We infiltrated Galactic HQ, just in time to witness Cyrus deliver a roaring doomsday-level speech to his grunts, because what's an evil plan without a little dramatic monologuing? Then it was time to crush some admins, push deeper into their hideout, and finally uncover what Cyrus had been planning all along. Spoiler alert, it was really bad. And after breaking Team Galactic's ranks, Cyrus vanished, destination unknown, but we had a pretty good guess. With no time to waste, we raced to Mount Coronet, climbing higher and higher as the snow turned to stone and the air grew thin. Somewhere along the way, Riolu hatched from Riley's egg, ready to take its first steps into a world that was about to be completely torn apart. At the very peak of Spear Pillar, we witnessed the impossible. Cyrus stood before us, surrounded by swirling energy as he uncovered the gateway to the Distortion World and was snatched inside by Giratina. Reality itself began to crack, and just like that, we stepped into the unknown. With reality twisting and shifting around us, we navigated the Distortion World, stepping through floating platforms and bending physics itself. But at the heart of it all, one man waited for us. Face to face with Cyrus, we knew this battle would be different. The stakes had never been higher, and I was arguably unprepared for it. Cyrus unleashed everything he had, and in the midst of the chaos, we lost one of our OGs. Potato the Bidoof. The humble legend, the early game workhorse, the unexpected hero who had been with us since the start, was now gone. Maybe with more preparation, maybe with a better plan, Potato could have survived. But in the end, his sacrifice was not in vain. Fueled by anger and grief, we pushed forward, taking down Cyrus in the warped, distorted lands that he had tried to claim as his own. But this wasn't over yet. With Cyrus defeated, we turned our attention to the true force behind this chaos, Giratina. This legendary beast has brought us here and watched without emotion as Potato fell deep into the distorted abyss below. There was only one thing to do. We threw the Master Ball, capturing Giratina instantly, and with that, the Distortion World collapsed, sending us back to Send-Off Spring. On our way out, we encountered and caught a Dusclops, a quiet reminder that souls don't always fade away. And then, we returned to the PC. We looked at Giratina, and as an act of revenge for causing Potato's loss, we released it. A legend for a legend, an eye for an eye. Potato may be gone, but his story won't be forgotten. Before reaching Sunyshore City, we took some time to fly and surf around Sinnoh, gathering a variety of encounters to prepare for the late game. Route 206 gave us Onion the Gligar, Wayward Cave gave us Starfruit the Gibble, Route 219 gave us Rhubarb the Tentacruel, Route 220 gave us Kale the Finion, Route 221 gave us Beansprout the Sudowoodo, Veilstone City gave us the gift Pokemon Rhubarb the Porygon, and Route 222 gave us Apricot the Electabuzz. On the way to Sunyshore, we evolved Jakama into Rhydon, bringing even more power to the team. And the next stop? The final gym. But before we could challenge Sunyshore Gym, we had to track down Volkner, who was doing what this gym leader does best, moaning about how strong he is instead of actually battling people. We dragged him out of the lighthouse and sent him back to the gym and prepared to embarrass him. For this fight, I brought 3 Pokemon with me: Jakama the Rhydon, Onion the Gligar, and Coconut the Graveler. First up was Volkner's Jolteon. Jakama tanked an Iron-Tail like it was nothing and flattened Jolteon with an Earthquake. Next, we swapped Onion the Gligar for Raichu, and this is where things got a bit weird. Raichu missed not 1, not 2, but 3 separate Focus Blasts, which allowed Onion to get to +6 attack with Swords Dance. At this point, Onion was fully boosted, and Raichu was looking at Volkner with incredible embarrassment. To top it all off, Onion critical hit digged right into Raichu and eviscerated it immediately. Then, Luxray came in, who also got destroyed by Dig, and finally Electivire, Volkner's ace, stepped up, but at this point, it didn't even matter. Onion burrowed underground one last time and erased Electivire from existence. And just like that, the final gym badge was ours. Onion the Gligar retired as an absolute hero, dodging every move and single-handedly carrying the fight. Jakama survived standing tall after demolishing Jolteon, and Coconut, well, Coconut never even left the Pokeball, not for a single turn. So in a groundbreaking first for the Gymlocke, Coconut retires purely due to being brought to the fight. We'll say it's for his brilliant HM services though. What a way to bow out. So, with all 8 gym badges in hand, it was time for the final challenge, the road to the Pokemon League. We picked up Waterfall on the edge of Sunyshore and set our sights on the final destination, Victory Road. Now, navigating Victory Road was like solving a puzzle while being repeatedly punched in the face. But after weaving through every layer of the route and dodging last-minute disasters, we finally made it to the other side. And just as we were taking in the sight of the Pokemon League gates, we were immediately interrupted by Barry. We pushed him aside and got back to being serious again. Now for the Elite Four, our level cap is the level of the highest Pokemon in the Elite Four, which is Lucian's Gallade at 59. Here's the team we designed. First up was Persimmon. Used throughout the team from the start, it's time this fire-breathing monkey got to take on the biggest challenge of all. Secondly was Cherry the Weavile. This quick slashing monster has got a physical and special set, with Nasty Plot and Swords Dance to boost necessary stab option. Third is Mulberry the Lucario. Able to boost up and do serious damage with a priority move to boot, it's a great option for the team. Fourth, we have Nectarine the Gyarados. With Intimidate and a Dragon Dance boost moveset, this thing can really control games, especially when Pokemon are getting out of hand. Fifth, we have Parsnip the Togekiss. Capable of being a nightmare at times, with Serene Grace, we used a heart scale to get access to some flinching tomfoolery. Finally, we have Squash the Mamoswine. When Garchomp is readily available, I don't think you can have too many ice moves, and this Mammoth is a great option to have available. With the team finalised and the legs shaking, we took our first steps into the Elite Four. First up in the Elite Four gauntlet was Aaron, a bug-type specialist, and while he might specialise in bugs, we specialise in burning, crushing and completely dismantling them. First up, Yanmega. Persimmon the Infernape stepped in and did what he does best, Flamethrower. Then came Drapion, Aaron's bulkiest option. We swapped into Nectarine, ready to set up for a sweep. 1 Dragon Dance, 2 Dragon Dance, 3, 4 Dragon Dances, Jeremy, are you insane? At this point, Nectarine was basically an unstoppable force of nature. 1 Earthquake and the Drapion was gone. And then we misclicked against Vespiquen. Instead of using Waterfall, we accidentally hit the non-boosted special move we've got, Thunderbolt. Who even teaches Gyarados Thunderbolt? Well, apparently I do. Somehow though, we paralysed it, and it didn't retaliate effectively. So, on the next turn, Waterfall finished the job. From there, it was just clean-up duty. Heracross, Waterfall. Aaron Sizor, a boosted Earthquake, and the whole thing was reduced to scrap metal. With 0 deaths, Elite Four number 1 was down. Nectarine turned that battle into a training session. That's 1 down, with 3 more to go. Next up was Bertha, the ground-type specialist and a serious defensive wall. First up though is Whiscash. Now this isn't an ideal matchup for Persimmon the Infernape, but I came prepared. I taught Infernape Grass Knot for this exact encounter. A 2-hit KO secured the fish, flopped for the last time. Then came Gliscor, so we swapped into Mamoswine. We tanked an Earthquake like an absolute unit before using Avalanche. This move doubles in power from 60 to 120 thanks to Squash moving second, and as soon as it arrived, Gliscor was gone. Next, Golem entered the field, and this required some tactical switching. I swapped into Parsnip the Togekiss to set up Reflect to reduce some risk before swapping into Mulberry to bait an Earthquake. Then, I switched into Nectarine for a clean, safe entry. With Golem exposed, Waterfall deleted it. And then came Rhyperior, which unfortunately had the same story for a different Pokemon. 1 shot with Waterfall, and it was gone. Finally arrived Hippowdon. Now I think this thing is tanky, and I have no idea what its stat spread was or if 1 Waterfall would do the trick, so I tried to play it smart. Nectarine swapped in and out repeatedly to lower its attack with Intimidate. After lowering it, I went for my move. I used Waterfall, and thankfully it critical hit. The Hippo drops into the sand, and half of the Elite Four is completed. Next up is Fire Specialist Flint. Flint is, well, let's be honest, he's a complete pushover with the right team and with the right approach. So I'm going to keep this one brief. We opened with Nectarine the Gyarados, we Dragon Dance once, Dragon Dance twice, and then we spammed Waterfall for the rest of the battle. The result? We 1-hit KO'd every single one of Flint's Pokemon before they even got a chance to move. Flint was down in literal minutes. After 2 tough battles, this steamroll victory was exactly the confidence boost we needed. 1 final Elite Four member left, all Pokemon alive. The final member of the Elite Four, Lucian, was up next, the Psychic-type specialist and the last obstacle before Cynthia. He opened up with Mr. Mime and we led with Cherry the Weavile. Now I had a plan, a big brain, high risk, high reward plan. Instead of immediately attacking, I set up 3 Swords Dances, 3 Nasty Plots. At this point, Cherry wasn't just a Weavile, Cherry was a weapon, a mixed attacking nightmare with ridiculous power. Then I went for Ice Beam. Yeah, I know Night Slash was the better choice. Yes, I was tired. But RNG blessed us. We froze Mr. Mime solid. Lucian tried to heal, but it didn't matter. Mr. Mime went down soon after. Then came Gallade, Lucian's ace. 1 Night Slash, 1 knockout. Next up was Bronzong, and I knew from using Elderberry that this thing was a defensive nightmare. But it fell to the same fate. Night Slash, KO. Then Alakazam came in. Night Slash, KO. Then finally Espeon. Night Slash, KO. Cherry the Weavile just delivered a masterclass, a setup sweep, a superb run through Lucian's team. This was it. The Elite Four was now conquered. Now, only one battle remained: Cynthia. It all comes down to this. The battles, the sacrifices, the victories, the losses. From the moment we took our first steps in Sinnoh, we've been fighting. Fighting against the odds, against impossible choices, against the reality that not every Pokemon gets to see the finish line. Potato, Elderberry, Edamame, every loss has shaped this run. Every retirement, every battle, every clutch moment, it all leads to this one final fight. We didn't come this far to break now. The strongest champion in Pokemon history stands in front. The trainer who has ended more Nuzlockes than I can count. Win, and we cement our legacy. Lose, and we become another forgotten statistic. Let's finish this. Parsnip the Togekiss led the charge against Spiritomb. We hit a critical hit Air Slash, and it flinched. Cynthia healed it off though, but we flinched it again, and in one final Air Slash, the Ghostly Guardian was gone. After this, Cynthia sent in our own Togekiss for an aerial war, with both Togekiss trading blows and desperate strikes. Then Cynthia went for one final blow, and it should have all been over. But Parsnip held on with 1 HP. That allowed us to go for one last Air Slash, and Cynthia's Togekiss went down. Parsnip had done the impossible, but we knew the inevitable was coming. Lucario entered the field. Parsnip looked back, knowing her time was up. She had nothing left to give, and would only take life away from the rest of the team. She stayed in. Lucario's move struck, and Parsnip fell. The winged dream sank to the floor and flapped no more. Rest in peace, Parsnip. You were incredible today. We sent in Nectarine the Gyarados and immediately dropped Lucario's attack. Then we switched strategically, lowering its offensive power to almost nothing. With Lucario weakened beyond repair, we set up Dragon Dance and struck with Earthquake. Lucario crumbled, but then the nightmare arrived. Cynthia's ace, the monster, the run-ender, Garchomp. We had to reduce its attack, so we switched. Again and again we rotated Nectarine in and out, whittling down Garchomp's threat level. Then we brought in Cherry the Weavile. Cherry had one job: land Ice Beam. We attacked. Garchomp's health dropped lower and lower, but it stopped in the orange. And Garchomp retaliated with Flamethrower. We watched Cherry's HP plummet. And then, we survived! We lived! But there was no celebration from Cherry, because suddenly we saw it. Cherry was burnt. She turned back one last time as the flames consumed her. Moments away from being a hero, fate snatched her away. Rest in peace, Cherry. You'll be sorely missed. But there was no time to grieve. Persimmon the Infernape charged in and struck the close combat. And just like that, Cynthia's ace, her greatest weapon, was defeated. Cynthia then sent in Milotic and we swapped into Nectarine, but the moment Surf hit, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. Nectarine wasn't making it out alive. We fired off Thunderbolt, but it wasn't enough. And then on the next turn, our best Pokemon of this entire Elite Four run dropped. Rest in peace, Nectarine. You did more than enough to put us in contention for this victory, but now we have to finish it without you. With a free switch into Mulberry, we were running on pure instinct. I risked a Swords Dance, and Milotic went for a Mirror Coat. I saw an opening, so I risked a Swords Dance again, and it Mirror Coated again. So I risked a Swords Dance again, and again, it went for Mirror Coat. This was it. Close combat. Milotic went down. One Pokemon left. Roserade. We were hanging on by a thread. Stats lowered, bulk destroyed, we were a glass cannon. It went for extra sensory, and our HP started to free fall. But we held on. One more huge boosted close combat, and despite its resistances, despite its bulk, despite everything, Roserade fell. The beast faded. The final blow had landed. We had done it. We defeated Cynthia. We completed the run. Every retirement, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt, it all led here. Parsnip, Cherry, Nectarine, this victory is yours too. We started this journey as challengers, and now we stand as champions. And with that, the Platinum Gymlocke is complete. Thank you all so much for watching and for all your extremely kind comments on recent stuff. I appreciate it so much. We recently hit 2,000 subscribers, which is amazing, and that was a target that I set out for the end of the year, so I'm in dreamland at the moment, and it's all down to you guys and your unwavering support. I'll get to creating the next one as soon as I can, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this one as well. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Check out the rest of the channel if you have time, and I'll see you at the Luxury Pool Resort.